Johnson Institute of Technology, case study, mobile computing, subject code CS8601, confirmation of GPRS UMTS traffic flow, snapshots from a live web, submitted by Bodluri Harshita Boilavamsi Chaprapu Lokesh Reddy. Introduction, literature survey, problem analysis, proposed solution, methodology, resource and technical solution, validation, compliance with social health safety, legal and cultural issues, compatibility with environment and sustainability, compliance with profession. Introduction. The growing popularity of 3G terminals and services has extended the coverage of wireless internet access to the geographic area, and 3G networks are becoming key components of the global internet of Europe. It is meant to represent a contribution towards a better understanding of the global traffic composition in a real 3G network. This work results from extensive traffic monitoring on the top of the operational 3G network of Mobilicom Australia AG and COKG, the leading mobile operator in Austria, EU. The content should be of the interest of those researchers working on 3G and provide them better understanding of how the traffic environment of a 3G network look like. P. Stuckman and C. Hoeman, Performance Evaluation of Web-Based Applications over GPRS Communication, ICC 2020, IEEE International Conference, 5:33:56 to 30:60 2020. It presents a novel box architecture for wireless application protocol and 2.0 employing an advanced data compression scheme. Through option in WAP 2.0, and proxy can isolate the wireless from the wired domain to prevent error propagation and to eliminate wireless session delays by enabling long-lived connections between the proxy and wireless terminals. The proposed data compression scheme combines content compression together with robust header compression, which minimizes the air interface traffic data that significantly reduces the wireless access time. This comforts our definition of connection of UDP, non-disclosure policy. For priority reasons, we cannot disclose several absolute quantitative values like traffic volumes, number of users, number of GN links, etc. that considered as business critical by the operator. In other words, we cannot disclose the size of the user population of the traffic aggregate, but only their composition. Fraction of users and volume in GPRS and UMTS. December 4 to November 5. December 4 users are 98.8%, volume 58.3%. In December 4 UMTS users are 1.2%, volume 41.7%. November 5 users are in GPRS users are 90.7%, volume 33.3%. November 5 UMTS users are 9.3%, volume 66.7%. R.Pan et al. Characteristics of Internet Background Radiation broke of the International Measurements Conference, Tormania, Slici, Italy, October 2019. Monitoring any portion of the Internet address space realizes insistent activity. This holds even when monitoring traffic sends to unused address when a term of background radiation. Background radiation reflects fundamentally non-productive traffic, either malicious backscatter scans and vulnerabilities are begin. While the general presence of the background radiation is well known, the network operator communicating it nature has yet broadly characteristics. We define a mechanism of activity. Probes and worms auto routers have heavily dominate. We conclude the considerations of how to incorporate our characteristics into monitoring and detection activities. Literature survey. H. Holma and A. Toscala, WCDMA and for UMTS radio access for third generation mobile communication, third edition, John Willey and Sons Ltd 2014. It provides the essential design technique for radio systems that operate at frequencies of 3 MHz to 100 GHz, which be employed in the telecommunication service. We may also these wireless systems, wireless being synonymous with radio. Telecommunications is a vibrant industry, particularly on the radio side of the house. The major supporter of this surprise in radio has been IEEE and its 802 committees. We devote an entire chapter to wireless LANs, WLANs, detailed in IEEE 802.11EZ. Also, now we have subsections in IEEE 802.15, 802.16, 802.20 and the wireless metropolitan area network, WMAN, Wi-Fi, WiMAX and UWB, ultra-wide Z-band are distributed where these comparatively new radio specialties are demonstrating particular growth. P. Stuckman hence to H. Fink, a WRAP traffic model and its appliances for the performance analysis of WRAP over GPRS proceeding of IEEE International Conference on third generation wireless and beyond, page 338 to 343, June 2011. Wireless application protocol on application mobile data services examined with the aim to provide guidelines of dimensioning of next generation mobile networks. The performance of web-based applications over GPRS is evaluated in the scenarios where the GPRS radio resources are shared with the conventional internet applications like www and email. Simulations results for a quality of services measures for the different applications of GPRS systems measured are produced with the simulation tool GPRism that methods that models application and user behavior TCP and IP WAP protocol architecture. The GPRS protocol architecture are radio channel. These results give an estimation of GPRS network capacity needed for a traffic mix of web based on conventional internet applications. Caldena Varga ODC and standardized wireless service usage and traffic characteristics in GPRS network traffic report and traffic report Vodafone 2018. It focuses on the traffic composition is a real GPRS UMTS network. We present results from two databases covering 1 week measurements period in December 2004 and December 2005. We show how users and traffic splits between access technologies and services and present an analysis of the per user activity of BDP content level. The result reported here provide an up-to-date view of the traffic and user activity in an operational 3G network. It should help those researchers interested in reproducing synthetic network scenarios to gain a better understanding about the traffic environment in a real network. The development of large-scale passive monitoring systems, including a parser of the whole protocol stack of the 3G core network and its deployment and operation of network of Mobilicom Australia AG and COKG were accomplished. Packets are captured with the DAC cards and recorded with GPS synchronized timestamps for the privacy requirement. The frames are completely anonymized on the fly before being stored the hard disk. All subscribe related field at any layer of the 3GPP protocol stack and are hashed with secret non-invertible functions with user payload at application layer is stripped off. Tracking modules. The monitoring systems covers both the user and control plane on each interface online and stateful module tracks the current TIMSI, temporary international mobile subscriber identifier for each mobile station, so each packet can be associated to the originating MS1. Furthermore, the traffic module on GP link tracks the MS position tracking module on the GNU maintains several PDP content attributes. Such tracking modules enable some forms of analysis and tracking slicing that would not be possible based on stateless traces. For instance, the analysis of per user traffic cannot be based on the IP address which is signed dynamically.
Proposed solution. As a first step, we show how total traffic and user population are split between different services. We present results from two separate 1 week periods in December 2004 and in November 2005. Hereafter denotes respectively as December 4 and November 5 datasets. The comparison between the two providers and insight into the historical changes in the microscopic traffic composition during almost 1 year. Attached to the 3G core network, there are different radio access network, namely GPRS and UMTS, delivering different link bandwidths. In fact, at that time, a large function of UTMS mobile stations were 3G discard mounted on laptop 2 coupled with flat rate contracts. With UMTS, handheld devices were just starting the spreading among subscribers. The fact that UMTS the growth factor in the volume share is sustainably less for the user share suggestions that most of new addiction terminals were handheld devices rather than laptop data cards under the assumption that the former one generation less traffic than the latter due to the combination of different internet capabilities and billing schemes. Here is the graph says volume per user and graph B contains functions of volumes by functions of top users. Methodology. As a next step, we evaluate directly the weekly volume generated by individual users. The pre-users volume distribution for GPRS and UTMS is November 5 are response. All values in MB week. Notice that in these figures are signed MS producing both type of traffic in UTMS and GPRS will appear as two different MS with district volume in each classes. It can be seen the medium in around 5.4 MB week for UMTS and only 43 KB week for GPRS. The distribution spans around 5 orders of magnitudes, denoting a large disparity in user behavior. This can be this, this can be seen well from when the plotted factors are top 1% traffic in inloaded plot V. We obtain the 1% of UTMS users generates around the 14% of traffic total traffic, which is top 1% GPRS users generated 52% of traffic total traffic. For the 10% of top users, the factor of volume jumped at 58 for the UTMS and 92 for the GPRS. The GPRS figures reveals that the vast majority of user SIMs on GPRS are generated less than 1 MB week. In generally, such classifications would be severally dependent. However, as far as the total network load it is connected, we can ignore several specific matrices and just consider the total transfer volume in the measurement period. Hence, the classification the user into four groups based on choosing threshold values on the weekly volume V very low, V less than or equal to 10 kb, low less than V less than or equal to 1 MB, medium as high. We use it same boundaries values for UTMS and GPRS. Note that the lower group generated on nil amount of traffic depending of the users from the here. These are the users have had similarly very few sessions. This table contains grouping per transmit volume values in factors in total. It contains of GPRS and UTMS and high low values December 2, December 4. This is the pie chart of GPRS and at December 4 and B contains pie chart of GPRS November 5. This figure contains several shares of UTMS and GPRS. Resource and techniques. In the next step, we analyze the volume share for each services. The figure in the section do not include custom services implemented from the specific customers, which were based on the APN. Also, the filtered traffic on plots TCP 135 and TCP 445, which is used by several schemes worms separated and from the both data sets. In all cases, the largest volume shares in WAP 1.0 shares held from 30% to 13%. Looking the relevant group of volume of each services, we found that the WAP traffic in GPRS did increases in absolute volume of 80%, but less than other services. Example, 339% of web. This table 3 contains data service shares of GPRS and UTRS at November 5. Traffic components of across 2 days, 2 hours means November 5. A contains UTMS at November 5, B contains GPRS at November 5. Service mix over time. Next, we analyze the stability of services shares on the day by day basis limited to the top service. Table 3 shows the fraction of volume per service accumulated within each day. We can different two profiles from working day and from the weekend. The web traffic is also dominates and its relevant shares increases in the weekend of UTMS 58, 68 in the work day of 65. In weekend, the shares the email traffic decreases in the weekend. We also notice the decreasing of REST UPD and VPN. The most likely explanation is the traffic is related to the business people that tended not to use their mobiles across the weekends. We observe that WAP shares GPRS in relevant stability across all days. Regarding the email volume, we note that GPRS and UTMS displays different levels of assumptions. The rate of email downloads to email sending is average 2.8 of GPRS and GPMS. This can be an average, and this can be accommodated to the similar uplink bandwidths in GPRS and consequently relevantly long transferring time with reference the user of massive email sending networks. Network engineering typically refers to the busy hours to eliminate these networks. To answer the questions in the weekend topic, they also be used adjusted by the traffic size.
Hi, this is Unsi. Now we are going to discussing about service mix over time. Next, we analyze the stability of services shared on the day-by-day basis limited to the top services. In the table 3 shows the fractions of the valuable perceived services accumulated within each day. We can describe two different profiles for working days and for the weekends. The web traffic is always dominates and its relative share increases in the weekends. In SMT, in UMTS, 58 to 60% in working days and 56% in weekends. The share of email traffic, POP3 and SMTP decreases in the weekends in UMTS is roughly heavy. We also notice a decreases of REST UDP, which includes utility tunnelated traffic and VPN. The most likely explanation is the is that this traffic is related to business people that tend not to use their mobile access on weekends. We observe the WAP share in the GRPS in uh, relatively stable across all days. This can be accounted to the similar smaller and uplink bandwidth in GPRS 21.4 kbits and consequently relatively long transfer timer which uh, refrained the user from the massive email sending. Network engineers typically refer to the business hours to dimension their network. To answer the question if the weekly traffic share can also be used to adjust traffic shares, result for two small simple days are presented in figure 3. The shape of the curve shows the busy hours between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. The inception of the volume shares for each week reveals that the traffic composition is relatively stable with the time of day in the range 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. with, with fluctuations within 5%. We conclude that the daily volume statistics are representative of the peak hour composition. We now group the users according to the services they use. Following, we define the following three groups: VP, WP, WAP only, WAP and email and internet services. The table 4 shows the relatively numbers of users in each of the three groups of GPRS and UMTS in in December 4 and November 5. The first group represents the vast majority in GPRS. Users who only use a mobile phone to browse WAP pages, download ringtones, send SMS via WAP and so on. In November 5, these are the November 5 present November December 4. These are 80% of the GPRS used, represent 90%, but only generate 20%, 20% respectively 37% of the total traffic. This group accounted for 0.1% of the UMTS users in December 4, but in November 5 they raises to one quarter of the total UMTS population. This is consists the fact that is December 4 most users active on UMTS are laptop data users. The second group is browsing WAP transferring image but does not have web traffic in the last group. There is no WAP traffic and mainly WAP volume. presumably dominated by laptop data cards. This group grew in GPRS from 1.4% to 12%, varying the whole web traffic 50% of total. Note the GPRS numbers for December 4 are consistent with the volume the result presented in for different provider. These are all the grouping per services. We are going to filter in various connections. During the explorative analysis, a large number of packets were directed to the port TCP 135 and TCP 445. Mainly TCPs sign in the uplink direction. This is due to the some self-propagating worms attended to some infected 3G terminals. The The presence of such unwanted traffic should be expected since laptops with 3G data cards often often equipped with popular operating systems coexist nowadays with handsets and smartphones in the 3G networks, and it is well known that unwanted traffic is a steady component of the traffic in the wired networks since years. The detailed analysis of unwanted traffic and its impact on the 3G network will be covered in a following separated paper. Here is important that such traffic does not expect user performance and therefore we filter it out before the analysis. The filtering rules were set heuristically as follows. For TCP, we filtered out all connections with less than two packets in each direction. For UDP, we filtered out all connections with less than one packets in each direction. The fractions of filtered packets was 3.4, which means 0.8% in the TCP and 2.4, that is 0.4 in UDP in December 4, November 5. Now the solution. Per user active. For each PDP context generated by MSEI, we extracted the total volume VJI and the duration DIJ. For each MSI, we constructed the following attributes: total number Ni of PDP context, total transferred volume Si is equal to Pmj is equal to 1 Vji, and total time Ti is equal to Pmj and J is equal to 1 Dji. Figure 4 shows scatter plots of these three attributes which logarithmic binary separately for UMTS and GPRS. Each point represents the number of MS with each bin. In all plots, there are boundaries due to admission registration. The limit is figures 4A, 4B related to the presence of minimum value of the duration of a PDP context, say the minimum, with the focus by a user within PDP context to say a line for the least Si greater than Ni into D minimum. Figure 4C and Figure 4D, that distribution is lower limited marked by the line in the figures by the maximum availability bandwidth, which is 384 kilobytes, and the 85.6 kilobytes for UMTS and representatively for GPRS. The slope of the lower approaches these values, the difference being due to the ideal periods within each PDP context. This graph shows the all of these availability. Duration of PDP context duration based on the high depression of Ni related by figure 5. We know that simply PDF of DCI would be decided by those few users with a very high number of PDP context. These are likely due to a automatically periodic access to some custom services with an intelligently different behavior from we therefore dedicated to classify the users into two main groups based on the total number of PDP context and any arbitrary boundary value set to Ni to 200. The CDF of the PDP context duration of each group is shown in the figure 5. The curves for the group within Ni less than or equal to 200 feet valuable functions with parameters 188.5, that is 0.37 for GPRS. And okay, the curves of okay, note the durations of PDP context in larger in UMTS that in the GPRS for the group within the NI greater than 200. The curve shows stronger discrete steps within the context within the hypothesis of automatically generated products. This graph shows the empirical CDF of PDP context duration. The x-axis shows the duration of PDP context per second, and the y-axis shows the empirical duration of CDF in y-axis. Validation nil and compatibility with environmental stability. The data set was the correlated with ADS messages to evaluate the services uses in the GPRS network at the PDS text levels. The result presented there shows a smaller share of web traffic, likely due to the absence of laptop data cards at the time. Next, the observation period was from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the 10 consequently days. Yes, there are also orderly public conventing certain traffic specific services, mainly WAP. And we have also presented measurements resulted from a operations GPRS measurements GPRS and UMTS networks. We provided instantly like accepted like traffic compositions per user duration and per user actively at the PDF context levels. And also in GPRS, most of the PDP contexts are generated by a manual fractions of terminals, likely automated, transmitted with periodic PDP context activations. These are aspects surely to carefully considered with tapping to reproduction synthetically the network-wide environment. In this work, we have moved from the first steps towards the classifications of separating users groups based on the degree of active and of the access services. In constructions of this group, we will try to zoom in at the user behavior of some specific classes of users. And these are the references we have taken while to get the knowledge of this. Contact you.